Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk It Out podcast. It's me, your host, Trey Busy, aka Alec Schultz. I want to thank you guys all in for tuning in tonight, and I also want to thank everybody who tuned in last week. I really do appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy day and your schedules to come have a conversation with me tonight, and every night actually. Looking at the chat room, my boy Dan is tuned in tonight. Yeah, welcome in everybody. Announce yourselves, say what's going on. Before I go too further, I'd like to thank Justin for coming in last week. Justin was a great interview, and as usual, he was very transparent, open, and honest with us, and letting us know everything that's going on with him and his future plans. I'm very happy for him that he's going to finally be able to get to go to therapy and start in May. So, without further ado, I am not alone tonight. I have a very special guest. Man, I'm just really fired up, man. It's someone I look at as like a big brother, man. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome my boy Omar to the Let's Talk It Out podcast. Man, I thank you for being able to come have this conversation, man. Like not a lot of people are willing to come on. A lot of people get a little shy, get a little stage fright.
Forward and have a conversation because like I said, this what you're doing, I don't think you really realize how important what you're doing is to a lot of people, and I guarantee you, as your platform gets bigger, then you'll kind of see how important it is. So again, it's I'm thankful that you even consider myself to come on and just have conversations.
So everybody's saying welcome Omar. Dan welcomes you. Brittany Williams says welcome Omar. CB fan
Guys,
says they're very very happy to have you on tonight.
thank you guys.
So I want you to give people a little bit of a background about yourself. Like, why were you willing to come on and have this conversation tonight?
Well, first and foremost, background about myself. I was born and raised in Jamaica. Uh, moved here. Um, played sport. Graduated from NIU. Currently now, I'm a father. I'm a husband. Uh, I'm a soldier. I'm in the Army National Guard. I'm an executive producer. I got a production company. Um, yeah, I'm a jack of several trades, I like to say. And the reason why I wanted to come on this because me personally, I've always been, I guess, an advocate for mental health and just dealing with your issue, dealing with you. You know what I'm saying, and finding that time to really service yourself. A lot of us we service our partners, our kids, our family members, and we don't really take the time to service ourselves. So to try to be as healthy as possibly, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. So the point when I saw that you were doing this and the importance on mentally, because a lot of us we only focus on the physical as far as improving and better. Where you got to understand the body will go where the mind is. So if the mind is not right, the body is not going to be right, no matter how good it may look in the mirror, or the compliments you get. So for me, I felt like I tuned in a couple of nights, listened. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So that's the reason why I wanted to be a part of it.
Well, thank you, man. I do appreciate your kind words. There's a lot of hard work and effort put into making this show, running it every week, man. Now, granted, it's very rewarding for me to know that I'm able to help people out, even if it's just maybe like one or two people a week. Like as long as somebody's being positively affected by the amount of work I put in, or the guests that are willing to come on and share their story, that makes it all worthwhile to me. Uh, you getting cheered on in the chat room. They're telling you
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
they are definitely very appreciative of you. So, um, I want to ask you about because I want to go ahead and jump right into it now. You know,
Okay, I'm here.
you gave people a little bit of
Go.
introduction, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Uh,
Let's talk.
so you did serve some tours.
Yes.
You were in
Iraq,
yep,
been to
Iraq.
Iraq and Afghanistan.
So I remember you going to Afghanistan. Tell me what it's like, man. Like what's your train of thought when you're over there? As far as like you're like what do you put yourself at mentally when you're over there, away from the family, away from your friends, away from America? What is that like?
So this may sound weird. So for me, Both times that I was when I went to Iraq and I went to Afghanistan, for me it was a spiritual journey in some sense, because here I am in a different country where life is at risk 24/7, stuff like that. But I used those times I was able to look at myself, look how I was living, look how I was carrying myself, look at my habits. So I kind of it helped me to see who I was outside of my comfort zone. Because being here, I'm in my comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? To be there, to be outside my comfort zone, I was able to really see who I am, understand myself a little better, and be able to put a plan to say, okay, what I want to fix, what I want to improve, what I want to grow from, what I want to grow out of, and stuff like that. So that's the mind state that I had put myself in, along with my faith, believe in supreme being. And so I felt like I'm not going to worry no matter, whatever the mission is. I feel like God is with me. And if God is with me, God got me. So that had enabled me to stay focused, and through his grace, I was able to make it back home in one piece.
So it sounds like when you were over there, it was a bit of it was a spiritual awakening for you.
Yes,
It
very
sounds
much so.
like so like it was very surreal for you to be able to be around that. Like it almost sounds like you were, you know, and I really necessarily don't get that often from people when they tell me about how it is over there. But it's like you were comfortable in a way.
I was I was I was comfortable in my faith, but I was uncomfortable because I was out my comfort zone, which that in a sense allowed me to see who I think I am, basically. Because the everyday life of being at home, whether it's school, work, family, you don't normally get those time to really reflect on yourself, to see yourself outside of your comfort zone. So being in Iraq and Afghanistan, I was able to see that, and I noticed a lot about me. And
That's
for me, that was life changing.
that's man. The chat room is really supportive of you. They are saying that's powerful. Uh, EJ4312 says thank you for your service.
You guys welcome.
Uh,
Welcome.
Hello all. What's going on, Air Jair? My boy Dan says Trey helped me out this week without even knowing what was going on beforehand. I appreciate it, bro. I always encourage, just if someone pops up in your mind, don't. And a lot of people like to be petty and say, you know what, this person doesn't hit me up, so why should I hit them up? You should never have that train of thought. You should always, if someone comes on your mind, they came on your mind for a reason. You should hit them up and see what's going on and make sure everything's okay with that person. Just say what's up.
Totally agree. I totally agree with that. I subscribe to a theory that no matter what, everyone is have something they're going through and dealing with. And so, like I said, I'm just the same. I'll check on my friend. You know that I'll shoot text, hey, you good? Hey, just checking on you, making sure you're good. And most of the time I'll ask, how are you mentally, physically, and spiritually? So that it doesn't just come as a cliche, hey, what's up? Because again, like I said, it doesn't matter. We all have something that we're dealing with, and something may not be big to me, may be big to you. So I can't really judge your situation. So, like I said, that's great that you're like that, and that's one of the things that again, knowing you as long as I've known you and see the man that you have evolved into. I'm very proud, man.
Thanks, bro. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, Omar has looked out for me for a long time. Again, that's why I said he's like a big brother to me because I haven't always been that upstanding, civil, help others out person I am today. It took a lot of awakening for me to get to this point. I had um, I had times where I wasn't as positive in the community as I am now. We're not gonna talk about that though, at least not now. And I know Omar got some stories, man. We're not gonna go there today.
Yes, I do, but we're not.
So another thing I wanted to ask you, man, about your time. You said you wanted to say something. Tell us a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in Jamaica. What do you give me a little bit of background with that, man? Like you said you wanted to tell you talked to me off the record and said you wanted to bring that up and spread a little insight about that.
So I was born and raised in Kingston, which is the capital of Jamaica. Grew up in the inner city, not the best of living condition, more impoverished and stuff like that. And when I was growing up, a lot of stuff never made sense to me. It really was confusing, really was terrifying. But as I got older, I learned that those moments and those instances was just helping me become resilient. And I say that because, for instance, a situation in Iraq, we came under fire, and um, a couple soldiers that, again, they froze up in the moment, and I was loose, and they looked at me and thought I was crazy. And but for me, it felt like I experienced probably worse growing up in Jamaica. So in that moment, you know, it was I was in like a natural state, so it wasn't like a shock, and I didn't like freeze up or anything. So again, that growing up, how I grew up, and the stuff I was exposed to helped me to be resilient as I got older in life.
So like when you say stuff you're exposed to, again, it's like say it was a rougher environment for you, and so that kind of like calloused you a little bit for being in those type of areas and those types of zones.
Yes, exactly. You grow up to where, again, like you said, poverty is a lot of political war, especially around election time and stuff like that. So you waking up and you going to bed to the sound of a gunshot. Just imagine Fourth of July, but that's like every other day or 3 months straight because of political war or area wars and stuff like that. So you know, and it's kind of weird. Like you hear gunshots, and then you heard it so much to where it's like you like the sound. So it's mentally it's weird to explain, but again, like I said, that helped me on my first deployment in Iraq, because that resilience of what I grew up seeing and stuff like that helped me to go through that 18 months deployment in Iraq as a 20-year old, 21 year old.
It's really sad that the youth are exposed to those type of conditions, but again, for the ones that do are exposed to those and they do make it out, it does make them a stronger person to realize what else is going on in the world. And it makes you that more, humble and that more, grateful for things you get in life, like the safe home and the family and being able to work a regular job and being able to provide for your family. Growing up like that makes those things a lot more worthwhile for you. That's why they say you're a little bit more appreciative if you're not like born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
That is very true.
So I just, man, EJ4312 says Romans 8:31. If God's for us, who can be against us? Uh,
That is that is
just
very true.
just going through the chat room. Dan says anyone that knows who David Goggins is, he's big on callousing the mind to be able to handle the hard times. And yeah, that's definitely true. B. Lisho says resilience is real. It helps you stay a sound mind and builds character, lasting character. This is a forgotten treasure. So, I mean, with that being said, man, like growing up like that, did you develop some kind of anxiety from that? Like, I mean, granted that sometimes we do experience anxiety from things that we know, but sometimes subconsciously. You said you became a little bit more callous to it, so mentally you felt like it was normal. But even still, though, man, like growing up like that can develop PTSD.
Yes, yes. I'm not ashamed of it, but for me, I've accepted. And once I had accepted it, I was able to work through it to where it became a part of my life, but in a positive way versus something that's an Achilles heel. So yeah, I was able to, but I wasn't unable to until I accepted it. And my wife always tell me, "Oh, you're paranoid," But then whenever we go anywhere and I point stuff out before it happens, you see things like I'm a psychic. And for me, I feel like that's that anxiety, that's that PTSD. But I have, I guess, use that energy to try to make something positive, and to where I'm able to sense, and I'm very observant, I'm very aware. So that's how I was able to work with that. And yes, you do have PTSD, and I know there is a negative connotation on PTSD. And so for me, what I've tried to do is try to figure a way with in turning that to be positive, turning it in a positive. And for me, it allowed me to become more self-aware of myself, my feelings, my emotions, and my thought. And through that process, I was able to deal with a lot of stuff better as I got older, stuff like that.
Now, when you say you and your wife are out and you point stuff out before it happens, like, give me an example of something that you'll point out, like, an instance.
So, like when we'll go out, and just by like I said, I'm very observant. Wherever I walk, anywhere I walk, my first is the identifying the exits and entrance and stuff like that. And I remember we went to a concert, and she wanted to stand. I was like, "Nah, let's just stay right here, just in case," because I forgot what concert it was, like a few years back, and it got rowdy. And just like that, we were able to get up out of there, because again, where we was positioned, it was a quick exit and stuff like that. So that was just one. And then she looking at me like, "How you knew?" I was like, "It's not necessarily knowing, but it's just you got when you understand certain environment, you kind of me personally, I kind of build like precautionary and safety stuff in my head to just in case the worst happen." So that's the scenario.
I'm the same exact way, man. I mean, even though granted we probably had different lives growing up, but I mean that doesn't mean I haven't experienced instances to develop me to have that same instinct that you have. If you can kind of tell,
Yeah.
if you've been around when it went down before, uh, when you know when something's not right. So just I mean the chat room is speaking on anxiety. Air Jer says anxiety and insecurities are real too. I'm fighting with those daily. Sometimes the battle is like that. That is a daily thing, but you take it step by step until it grows further and further apart to when you're dealing with the instances.
Yes.
Meg says acceptance is a huge step. Absolutely. B. Little says acceptance is paramount. And CB fan says anxiety is a teacher too. Yes, it is. It
Yeah.
definitely is a teacher. Let's see. B. Little says develop a keen sense of awareness and discernment. Yeah, from things you've experienced early in life. She said, "This is military, this is law enforcement, and warfare-minded strategic thinking, always tactical." And that's one that and I'm glad she said that because V. Lipschultz is my mom, Omar. If you didn't know that by now, she says, "I know." She said, "This is military law enforcement." So, my mom recently got a promotion at work. She's a sheriff. She's down in Nashville now. She got promoted to a corporal position. So
Nice.
wanted to congratulate.
Congrats. Congrats.
Yep, congratulate her for that. Chat room. This is a huge accomplishment. She works really hard for them. So for her to get promotion like that, that's really huge. Uh, EJ4312 says, be alert, stay safe." Yeah. So again, anxiety is something that we deal with. Some of us deal with it more regularly than others. Um, I want to jump back into that a little bit because when we anxiety can get to the point where you actually start having like a panic attack or something, like you start feeling yourself sweating. Like, have you ever found yourself in that type of situation, Omar, where it's like you just feel overwhelmed
Yeah.
and you got to like
Most definitely.
pull over or something?
Most uh, not necessarily pull over. For me, I know for me when anxiety, when I'm getting anxious about something, either my palms start sweating or I find my legs to start tapping. And so yes, that's happened numerous times. That's to me that's human. That's just the chemicals in your body in the moment. So I don't look at it as something, like I said, negative. Once you aware and you can know when, you could be better prepared to how you're gonna react and stuff like that. But it goes back to accepting and being very self-aware. So yeah, I've had plenty of moments. Even it's not even with driving from work. You see somebody just slam on a brake and you're stopping. You feel like you're stopping the car, but the car's still moving. You be like, okay, I'm going to run into this guy. Oh my god, oh my god, and so that anxiety sets in. So
Sometimes,
yeah,
some,
experience.
I was gonna say sometimes even with me, man, like granted, I do get the situation like you're in a car, you're driving, and you slam on the brakes, but sometimes with me, like some people to attest to this as well in the chat room, you have anxiety, but you don't know where it's coming from. Like if you ever
Yeah,
just been sitting there, or even at the gym. Like I've been at the gym a few times, and just all of a sudden, just an overwhelming, just like it just hit anxiety feel just hits me. Like I start getting nervous and looking around and start breathing a little heavier. That I mean, granted, like you said, there's instances where it's supposed to come. Like you get a little bit of anxiety before you go live on a podcast, or before you get in step in front of a camera, or you walk to a podium or something like that. Athletes get it
yeah.
before they step on the court. But what if you're not about to do those things? Or like, what if you're just sitting there doing something that you do every day that's normal, and all of a sudden just boom, you know?
Honestly, I don't think I've experienced that. Most of the anxiety I have felt or dealt with is based on the situation, whether it's current or whether it's past. And then, I think something is going to happen. And then, like you said, that goes into the PTSD section. And so I've never just had anxiety because I don't think. And when I did therapy, that anxiety wasn't a thing, issue of mine. And how my therapist basically explained the reason why. She says she thinks that I am very self-aware. I'm in tune with who I am, and I've like created triggers to either calm down or stop it or distract myself in that moment, and stuff like. So I've never just experienced what you've experienced.
I'm glad you said triggers. That seems to be the key word in the chat room right now. EJ says, "Know your triggers. Be watchful of your symptoms. Execute your plan. Use your tools." And B. Lisho says, "Triggers happen at any time. Smell, sounds, or word association. Be aware of triggers and processing them." So yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said the other word with the T, therapist. People sometimes think that they're judged, or there's a negative connotation with going to see a therapist. Like people look at them like there's something wrong with them. Therapy,
Yeah, and I hate that. I hate that.
and that's one of the reasons why one of the campaigns with the
It's
show
just
is
the stigma is so.
what was it?
It's just
What do
so
we always?
misleading.
Hey, Omar, what do we always post? Stomp the stigma all the time. You guys, I know you guys have seen that all the time. My boy Zach came up with that. Zach is a big help with the show, but stomp the stigma means we are destroying the mindset of therapy being something that means that something's wrong with you, or it's not normal to open up to people and talk about anxiety, talk about depression. Stomping the stigma is something that we need to do every day. It's something that needs to be normal, because therapy is something that's necessary for you to have a successful life, successful relationships, successful marriage, successful like interactions at work. To being able to open up to somebody and not be judged for that, that's huge. And that's
Yeah,
one of the main purposes of the podcast. So let's talk it out podcast. Let's have people come where you guys can open up, and nobody's going to judge you for saying anything that you want to say, because sometimes, if actually most of the time, people have dealt with the same exact thing. They're just too ashamed themselves to bring it up.
yeah, that's very true. And but if you really let's think about this, right? In the simplest form, therapy. We all do it with each other as a friend, a family member. You're going through some stuff and you're just talking to them. That's a form of therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like we all go through it, but I guess when you talk about the big therapy or going to see a therapist, that's when everybody like, oh, that's bad or whatever. When we already experience and conduct therapy in our daily life, whether it's through our partners, our friend, whether it's talking about either a work issue, a relationship issue, or whatever. So we already do that, but for some reason, once it comes to the big T, the oh, you got to go see some, it's like a negative aura to it,
Yes,
and that doesn't
we
make
we
sense.
we do always open up to someone. There's always somebody there. But even then, man, like sometimes, uh, I have to be completely honest. I haven't had a lot of people tell me until I announced the Let's Talk It Out brand and embedded it in people's minds and made them accept it, and they heard a few episodes. Up until before I launched this, I've never had anybody come to me and tell me that they were dealing with anxiety or depression. Never.
Yeah,
And I've always been someone that people could talk to, but no one's ever brought that up to me. So
yeah.
I don't know, man.
And then a lot of some people, some people just need that someone or that opportunity for to just open the door, and then they'll just walk right in. And I feel like what you are doing with this podcast is exactly that. You're creating the platform to where if I'm not sure, I'm standing on the other side, and you just open the door, and now I know, like, okay, let me go see what's here. And I walked in, and then from the guys in the chat room and the comments, now I feel more comfortable. I don't feel alone, and I don't feel like, oh, I'm the only person dealing with this. So again, it goes back to, I'm probably going to reiterate this all night. Like, what you're doing is so amazing, and like I said, I don't know if you really understand how amazing and great this is.
Uh, Man, bro, just I do. I mean, I people have told me that, but for me, I feel like there's a lot more I can do. Like I always feel like I haven't done much yet. Like it's a feeling of I need to do a lot more to help more people out. I need to get the word out there more. And I do. I'm very appreciative every time someone tells me that I've helped them out and what I'm doing is great. But I always feel like there's a lot more I could be doing. So I got a question for you for the chat room. CB fan
Yeah.
says, "Is Omar on any medications?"
So no, when I got back, I was at go to the VA and stuff like that. I tried the medication, and for me, I felt unbalanced, and so that didn't work for me. For me, again, I became more spiritual. I became more deeper in my faith, and there's something you know me, Alec, like music. Like music is my therapy, and like all kind of music, wherever I going through something, I find that music, that song, that album that matches that mood, and then find that song, that album that could uplift me from that mood. So between that, and then I use my friend, my wife, as therapists, where I'll just bring a scenario to them. Sometimes, at first, I just do scenario. Hey, what you think about this? Or a friend was going through this. What's your opinion? When it was actually me. But now I'm at the point to where, hey, you know, I'm feeling this way, and just get their perspective. So that worked better for me, and that's the reason why I stopped taking the medication, because I didn't feel it helped, but it helped, but at the same time, I didn't feel balance.
Music is a huge source of therapy, man. I could like, literally. There's some music for every mood that you could possibly be in, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
definitely helps you settle you down, and it helps you feel better, man. I'm telling you. So back to the therapy thing, I'm gonna go back there a little bit. Uh, Meg says, my therapist is super cool. Anyone who isn't open to the idea of talking to a professional is really limiting their own opportunities for growth. You are definitely putting a lid on yourself if you don't find a therapist or if you don't find anybody that you can openly talk with.
Yes.
If you feel like you don't need to talk about what's going on with you and you're just strong enough to take care of it, that's just the biggest sign of weakness if you don't want to open up to anybody. That's just my personal opinion. Brittany says music is the best therapy. 100%, man. I'm telling you, music has the power to rewire your brain. It could change the way you're thinking. So, Omar, just the music thing, man. Like I always see you like posting with, you be in the studio a lot with rappers and stuff. Like I just want to know when we gonna drop my mixtape, man. Like what's up? What's up with that?
Hey, whenever you're ready, man, just let me know. I'll block out a whole month and we work on it and get it done.
Because we got to give the streets what they want. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding everybody. I'm not dropping a mixtape. I wouldn't even know what to write down to rap about. I don't live an excitement life. I I don't do nothing. Like, I don't go out and stunt. I barely even go out. I'm always working. If I'm not working, then I'm working on stuff with the podcast. I'm sorry. I don't have anything
Well, you got
exciting to rap about.
you you have a lot of stuff to rap about. Just your life, your story. I guarantee you, there's a million people who could relate to your story. There's too many people in this world not to able to relate. It's just with music in the states, a lot of people now today people rap about the social media image versus just real life. But your story is great, so I'll be number one fan because
See,
I've seen it. So
bro, you a real one, man. I know if I drop the mixtape, I know you probably be the first download on that.
oh, most definitely.
My
Matter of
guy.
fact, I'm gonna need an autographed copy. You gonna have to sign
Look, I let people say in their grace. Their grace is music. My grace is coming on the podcast and talking about it. That's I let my story out on the podcast. So I let everybody else
yeah.
do the music thing. That music thing isn't for me. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't even the catchy beats and stand on beat and all that. That's not for me, man. That's the problem with a lot of rappers, man. They don't stay in their lane. Their lane probably isn't. Their grace isn't music. I hate to say it, but some rappers' grace isn't music. They need to figure out what their grace is in life. But the thing, the rapping ain't it. So
You just got to know your lane and know what you're good at, know your strength and your weakness, and then just focus on your strengths.
so back on topic a little bit because I'm not dropping the mixtape anytime soon. Uh, I wanted to ask you: have you ever had a time in your life, man? I mean, I know we asked you a little bit about have you ever dealt with anxiety or you know the PTSD for being back, but I wanted to ask you: was there ever a time in your life where you like felt like a overwhelming sensation of being depressed, or you felt
Oh
yourself
yeah.
you felt
Oh
yourself feeling like
yes.
removed? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Um, I want to say this was when I probably graduated from NIU, so around 2011, and it was a period. And for me, honestly, me going to Afghanistan helped me, or I should say, saved me. Um, graduated NIU degree in sociology, and again, I was always pursuing music. I had a record label then. I was just doing stuff, and it's like nothing wasn't working. It's like you throwing a dart at different walls, and it's just nothing, And around to the middle of 2012, I guess I was at my lowest point, and you talking about depressed, always in the room, and stuff like that. And for me, I don't know. It's just one day. Um, Me and my best friend, I call him my brother. We came from the store, and then he parked in the driveway, and he got out. He was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I just need a minute," and uh, I just started talking to God, and I just was talking for like 2 hours between self talking and talking to God because I felt like I allowed myself to fall out of my faith, and in that moment, I let the devil in because I had time on my hand. I couldn't find anything, whatever, and so I had idle mind, and I let the devil in. And when I had that talk and I got out of that car, I just felt like something just lift off me, like the whatever it was, the whole of the devil or whatever just left me. And then probably around a month or so later, I started working at the post office, which wasn't. ideal, but it was great. Pay was decent, everything. I was working nights. Never worked nights before. It was hard. And then, boom, I had an opportunity to go to Afghanistan. That happened out of nowhere. And then, boom, I'm in Afghanistan, contracted with the army, making six figures. So going from zero, nothing. As you know, my bro, Ricky, we was splitting $5 on McDonald's dollar menu. You know, I always get the McChicken and the fries, and he'll get a cheeseburger and a Farte for the $5. And so, just going from that to several months later, um, uh, being able to position to where, God blessed me. I'm making six figures. I was able to help, myself, my family, and friends. So, but during that period, oh man, it was dark. It was dark. It was a lot of doubt, a lot of feeling hopeless, feeling like, you do all that work and it's nothing, feeling like you're alone. Everybody say they understand, but do they really? Because they're carrying on with their lives and stuff like that. And yeah, I lived it. I experienced it. I experienced it. And when I got out of that depression skid, I made a vow to myself, I'll never allow myself to get there again, because it was so dark and scary for me. I was like, I would never want to be there ever again. And through the grace of God, I've not been, back to that, place, and I'm very grateful.
It's a very beautiful thing to finally get free of that that
Yeah,
state, man. That feeling of numbness, like just because I've had times when I was depressed, man. Like I'll be out with people or be gone somewhere, and I don't know, I just kind of like sit back and be like removed from everything, And everybody's like, "Yeah, you all right, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm cool. I'm just just sitting here, just like this feeling. It's a feeling of numbness, man. Like you just don't really care, you know."
yeah. And what I had to understand, like like I said, it it was like God was humbling me, right? And I started reading the Bible more and stuff like that. And what helped me out of that state of feeling helpless and hopeless and stuff like that is like, I felt, and I still do this day, I feel like, you know, my purpose is bigger than me. And how selfish am I to just, be like, God has a purpose bigger than me. And once I took on that belief and owned that, I was able to like I said, to shed that skin of depression, that skin of hopelessness and stuff like that.
Now, not a lot of people are able to do it, man, and it's very sad that a lot of people, when they get like that, they feel things are slipping, and they just let it happen, and then they end up taking their own lives because they feel like nothing means anything anymore.
Yeah,
Nothing is worth it.
yeah.
People start having those suicidal thoughts, and there's just nothing to pull them out of it. And it's scary, man, because people close to you could be dealing with that, and you never even know.
You know what? And not to break, I had two friends, right? That, and I don't know. For me, like I said, I always feel like our purpose is bigger than we even know. I had two friends, and the two instances, um, they were about or in commit suicide, and they called me. Both of them, I promise you, Alec, I haven't spoke to them for probably 3 4 years, and but my number was the same, and they called me, and I'm talking, and I'm like, we talk. Stop what I do. Stop. Hey, be quiet, everybody, and talk and talk and talk and talk. And I felt like I was able to talk them out of whatever decision they were going to make right in that moment. But for me, I've lived with that question. Was like, I wasn't current in their life at that moment, why they chose to call me. And and I guess that for me helped reiterate that like our purpose is bigger than we even know or even could imagine. And so, and ever since that moment, I've always take time to like listen to people, because a lot of time listening to someone is not listening to what they're saying, but listening to what they're not saying.
Man, amen to that for
So,
sure. You could always
because
tell when
a lot
somebody.
of us a lot of us have a mask, and that's all they most people need. They need somebody to just see beyond what they're saying, because that just shows you care, you're actually listening. And that's something I've developed over the years, is to where I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm also listening to what you're not saying. And so yeah, and for me, I'm a MRT, I'm the master resilient trainer for my whole company in the military. So uh I have like over 200 soldiers. Every like 6 7 times a year I have to give a class on resilient, and it's deal with people who are suicidal, and try to help build them up, and help them and provide them the resources they may need to to overcome whatever battle they're fighting, but at the same time teaching them resilient skills, so that they don't end up in that place again. They could grow from it, and then inevitably help someone else.
There people say a lot without talking, man. I just wanted to touch
Yeah.
back on that, and I also want to touch back on what I said earlier in the episode about if someone reaches out to you, or if someone comes in your mind for you to hit them up, you know, do it, because there's a reason why that person came up to you, man. Just simply hitting somebody up could save their lives. I've had someone tell me that I saved their life before, just because like they were minutes away from they were minutes away from taking their life, and just someone just randomly just hitting them up and checking on them, just seeing what's going on with them. Like, hey, I thought about you. What do you have going on with you? What's new? How are things going on with you? That just knowing that someone gives a fuck, man. Like that means so much to people. And but it's just crazy that it's something as simple as that is trivial these days. That's crazy to me. Something as simple as hitting somebody up to let them know you're thinking about them is trivial.
I think as you can see, over the years, society has kind of drive us away from being like human. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why something as simple like that doesn't seem as big. It's like we're like kind of being programmed to being less human, less emotional, less compassionate. And as you can see with the current situation, R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle, where because of who he was, and he was able to touch so many people in his passing, because it affected me, because I was a fan. He has two projects that were therapeutic for me. His last project he dropped last year, Victory Lap, and Crenshaw was very those point. There's point in time in my life I was dealing with something in those projects, so I felt like I knew him. But to see the overwhelming love and response he's been getting all over the world, to me, that just reminds us, hey, we're human. It's okay to love. It's okay to be nice. It's okay to be to be grateful. It's okay. And I feel like our everyday life is structured to where it kind of try to dehumanize us in some sense. But again, we have to wake up every day and remember we're human. I was having a conversation with a friend. I was like, before you're black, white, Chinese, transgender, you're human before anything else. And so I feel like that's the reason why we've been desensitized of being human, to where a little, hey, checking on how you doing, hope everything, that seems like it's nothing, when to somebody going through something, that means that could be in the world to them.
We all are different colors, different nationalities, different sexualities, but like you said, we're all human, and all of our brains pretty much function the same exact way. You get that feeling of feeling good when someone cares about you. You know, When someone genuinely cares about you, they're not just hitting you up because they want something from you or they feel like you offer them something. You are hitting them up because they care about you.
Very much so. Totally agree.
So the chat room has been going off a little bit. B Live Show says, allowing yourself to seek your purpose and realizing your life is attached to others is a breakthrough. As God's purpose is huge. EJ4312 says, thank you for sharing your gifts, tools, and discernment. Help bring words of life into other lives and life and death is in the power of the tongue. Brittany Williams says, I experienced depression about 2 years ago. It took me some time to pull myself out of it, but I'm glad I'm in a much better space. Amen to that. We were made for relationships. No man is an island, EJ says. And Courtney says, such an amazing point where we were talking about, man, you're saying we're all human. No matter, and that's true. It's 100% true.
Yeah.
We are desensitized to our nature because society these days is making us believe that uh, the less you care about something, the better off you are. The less you let something affect you, the better off you are. No, these things, certain things are going to affect you, and you have to be open and honest with saying that and let people know what's going on with you. You can't just let something happen and act like it didn't hurt you or it didn't affect you. You didn't care. You bottle these things up, and when you bottle things up, it has to come out some way. Hello, that's how depression is made. That's how depression forms. You're trying to bottle stuff up, and it has to come out. So, I don't know, man. I can keep going. Omar, I want you. I don't want you to just sit there and be quiet, man. My bad.
I'm listening to you, man. Like you're what you're saying is on point. And again, like um, this is serious depression, anxiety, PTSD, everything. And I feel like society doesn't help. Social media doesn't help if you're already dealing with certain things because I guarantee in a couple of years they're going to be making diagnosis off social media. There's already social anxiety. Sorry, that's Cameron. He wants to speak. Say hi. Okay. Yeah. So it's serious and it's great.
He gonna have to wait till I invite him to be a guest on the show, man. This Omar's turn to be the guest. So
Yeah.
I understand, man. The little one wants some attention. Yeah, man. I mean, we are. You have hit very, very, very important points tonight, man. I very much so thank you for coming on. We're at the 48-minute mark, man. So I want to ask you, if there's any last things you have to say to the people, let them know a little something, last things on your mind.
If there's anything I would like to say is, service yourself. Take the time out to understand yourself. Become more self-aware. When you become more self-aware, you'll be able to identify triggers. You'll be able to respond to things, to emotions a lot better. And at the end of the day, it goes back to what I was saying. That's the only way
just
the world will change. Lead and live with
changing
love.
the world is not the old the world. Just
We
changing the
need
world
that
that
more than
you
anything now. People you come across every day. Just lead and live with love, and hopefully one day, maybe not for us, but for our kids or our kids, they could benefit from that love that we started. And like I said, that's all. You're never alone. You know, you have Alec. He could give you my information if anybody ever just need to talk or just an ear to listen. But again, lead and live with love, and let's change the world.
So again, man, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, man. You were very, 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 man. You hit so many good points. Your story was amazing. We do need to connect again in the future, and I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, man. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen in tonight. Um, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys in the future, and have a good week. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, guys. One love.